Have you ever played around with a large language model and just thought, wow, I wish I could actually build something with this? Well, if that's you, you are in exactly the right place. In this explainer, we are going to cut through all the noise and give you a super clear roadmap for your first 6 LLM projects.
It's really not an exaggeration to say that LLMs are changing everything. This quote from Geeks for Geeks totally nails it. They call them the wizards of the tech world. And it's true. The way they can process and generate language, it honestly feels like magic.
And that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's one thing to have a fun chat with an AI, but it is a whole other ballgame to actually harness that power and create something new from scratch. So how do you make that jump from just being a user to being a creator?
Well, let's get you ready to build. The goal for us today is simple. I'm going to give you concrete, beginner-friendly projects that will totally demystify LLM development. Think of these as your starting points to get your hands dirty and really truly learn how this stuff works.
Because that is the secret, You can read all the blog posts and watch all the videos you want, but the absolute best way to understand this tech is to build with it. So let's just dive right into our first set of projects. This is the perfect place to start your journey. All right, first up, we're starting with the most familiar application out there, chatbots and assistants. There's a really good reason this is the go-to entry point. It immediately shows you the power of conversational AI. But more importantly, it teaches you the fundamental building blocks, things like handling user input and managing chat history that you're going to use in pretty much any LLM app you ever build. So check this out. This slide actually outlines your first 2 projects. On the left, we have project number 1, a super simple echo bot. All it does is repeat back what you type. Sounds basic, right? But building it is so important because it teaches you the fundamental request and response loop behind all conversational AI. Once you've nailed that, you can level up to the project on the right, project number 2, a full-blown conversational AI chatbot. That's where you swap the simple echo logic for a powerhouse model like GPT-4. And you might be thinking the tech for this has got to be crazy complicated, but it's surprisingly straightforward. For your back end, something like Python or Node.js is perfect. For the front end, you could use basic HTML and CSS, or, and this is a great tip for beginners, you could use a framework like Streamlit. It lets you build a really nice UI with just a few lines of Python. And then, of course, you connect it all to an LLM API from a provider like OpenAI. The whole process really breaks down into these 4 manageable steps you see right here. First, you build the interface. Second, you connect the API. Third, and this is key, you figure out how to manage the chat history so the bot remembers the conversation. And finally, you deploy it and test it out. It's a simple, repeatable blueprint for your first real app. Okay, so we've moved from conversation to creation. Because beyond just chatting, LLMs are incredible engines for generating brand new content. So our next couple of projects are all about using the model's ability to write and refine text on command. And here are 2 fantastic ideas for you. This is project number 3, on the left, a text summarizer. This is such a practical tool. It solves a real-world problem we all have, information overload. Then, for project number 4, on the right, you could build a creative writing assistant. This one lets you explore the more artistic side of LLMs, helping people brainstorm ideas or smash through writer's block. The technology stack here is going to look pretty familiar, but we're introducing a new key player. You'll probably still use Python and maybe Streamlit for the UI, but for the model, you'll want to check out libraries like Hugging Face Transformers. It gives you super easy access to all sorts of models like T5 Small, which is fantastic for summarization, or you can just stick with a general model like GPT-3. Okay, so we've seen how LLMs can talk and how they can create, but what about getting them to understand? I mean, really get the meaning behind the words. Our next couple of projects focus on exactly that, language analysis. So for our 5th project idea, how about a sentiment analysis toolkit? Imagine building an app where you can just paste in a bunch of user reviews or social media posts, and boom, the LLM instantly tells you if the overall feeling is positive, negative, or neutral. This is incredibly valuable for businesses trying to understand their customers. And that leads us right into our 6th project idea, a language translation extension for your browser. Most modern LLMs are trained on tons of different languages, which makes them natural translators. Building a simple extension that translates highlighted text on any web page in real time, that's a seriously impressive project that really shows off what these models can do. Okay, so now you have 6 solid project ideas under your belt. But before we wrap up, I want to show you a slightly more advanced technique that really takes things to the next level. This is easily one of the most powerful things you can do with an LLM today, creating a custom Q&A system that knows everything about your own private documents.
The magic trick here is a technique called Retrieval Augmented Generation, or just RAG for short. At its core, it's how you make an LLM an expert on a specific topic. You augment its general knowledge by retrieving information from your own data. The big takeaway here is that this process grounds the model in facts from your documents, which dramatically reduces the chance it'll just make stuff up, what people call hallucination.
The whole RAG process can be broken down into two main phases. First, there's an offline step called indexing. This is where you feed your documents to the system, which then splits them up and stores them in a special, searchable index. Then you have the real-time part. When a user asks a question, your system first retrieves the most relevant chunks from that index, and then it feeds both the question and those chunks to the LLM to generate a super precise, context-aware answer.
Now to build this, you will need a few new tools in your toolkit. You could use a powerful open-source model like Mistral 7B. For that special searchable index I mentioned, you'll need what's called a vector store. Think of it as a database for meaning. Tools like Chroma or Face are great for this. And you can tie this all together with a framework like LangChain, which is specifically designed to make building these RAG pipelines way easier.
So there you have it. We've covered a whole range of projects, all designed to take you from being a curious learner to a confident builder. The power, truly, is now in your hands.
You officially have a complete toolkit of ideas to get started. You can build chatbots, content creators, language analyzers, or even level up to your own custom Q&A system with RAG. Every single one of these projects is going to teach you something incredibly valuable.
But please remember, these are just springboards. The real magic, the real fun, begins when you start to mix and match. What if you built a chatbot that could also summarize articles for you, or a writing assistant that analyzes the sentiment of your story as you write? That's when you're not just building projects, you're creating something truly unique.
And this is where I leave you. You have a clear path forward and a whole toolkit of ideas. The only question left is the one you see on the screen right now. What will you build first? Because at the end of the day, it all comes back to this one simple truth. The theory is cool, but real understanding comes from doing. So pick a project, dive in, and go create something amazing. I can't wait to see what you build.